thought, all right, I can either spiral down into a negative place, or I can take this energy and this hunger and this pain and all of this sadness and channel it into something positive. Drivers Mate Podcast! Back again, right? Thank you for tuning in. I appreciate your time. I appreciate the feedback you give. It really helps. Like, it helps not only with my own personal ego that I could be doing something good for the world, but it also helps in the algorithm and all of that, right? Making sure that small channels get seen by the algorithm and not completely suppressed by bigger media outlets and scripted content, right? So you help to keep real people real, like me and you. You help to keep freedom of speech free, right? Just by liking these kinds of things where we keep it real, okay? Well, thank you for your time. Check out my main channel at CNCCMI, right? That's the only plugin I'm doing today, right? I think, anyway. Alright, if you stayed past the intro, you know what time it is. Reaction style video. What we usually do in these videos is we pick a YouTube short at random, then I give you my opinion, and you get to see my reaction, right? Sometimes it's funny, sometimes it's not. Anyways, right, let's go. What we got today?
If I had to pick two books, the first book I tell anybody to read is The Power of Positive Thinking by Norman Vincent Peale. That's the beginning. You've got to fix this.
Okay.
The difference between successful people
sounds like a
and
self-help
non-successful people is this. It's what
He's happens to his mind.
In between the ears.
Agreed.
That's it, man.
Agreed.
Because you have to fix what's happening up here.
Agreed.
Nothing starts unless it's here. The second book is The Magic of Thinking Big by David Schwartz. That's it. Them two books right there, you ain't got, I'm telling you right now.
Okay, so yeah, it sounds like self-help, like self-development.
You can go get the winner's circle, you can go get high, you can go get all of them. Gonna get you right on back to The Power of Positive Thinking and The Magic of Thinking Big. That book, The Magic of Thinking Big, you know what it did, man? It just taught me one thing. It doesn't take any more brain power to think big than it does small. If I had to pick two books, the first
that was Steve Harvey. Looks like he was giving an interview or he's talking to somebody, and he's recommending two books. Now, I've not read those two books that he's recommended, but I've got a sneaky suspicion that based on the titles, they are like reiterating the same old like pseudo-psychology of how you think attracts what you want. Like, we call it the gospel of wealth, right? Or the gospel of prosperity, right? And essentially what these types of self-help books and self-development books do, and they've existed since the 1920s, right? The early 1900s, because people knew the power of your mind, right? And all of its kookiness. Essentially what these books do is they give you tools, anecdotes, and sometimes just fake evidence to change your mindset, right? They give you mindset, which is, on a whole, is positive, right? If you take the information and you do something good with the information, you actually act on it, on a whole, the idea and the genre of those books is a good thing, right? So there's that. And I haven't read those books, so I can't really say what's in them, but based on the titles, it sounds like they're going to be giving you mindset tools, right, and telling you the power of your mind, which I agree with, right? But to some extent, I also know it's a lot of pseudoscience nonsense inside of those books, right? So you'll get a book that has, like, let's say it has 500 pages, 250 of those pages are going to be repeating the same thing, right? And then another 50 of those pages are going to be anecdotal stories from unverifiable references, right? Because I've read these kinds of books myself, right? You get those testimonials as half of the bloody book, right? You know what I'm saying? If you've read them, you know what I'm talking about. But yeah, it's nothing wrong with reading. Well, you should read, 100% you should read, but you shouldn't get stuck in the self-help, self-development world, right? Because that itself is a broad market, and it's also like a psychological trap, and it can become a crutch, right? You depend on these self-development ideas so much, you never actually develop yourself. And that we see time after time, like we spoke about before, in the finesses and, you know, the scammers and the motivational speakers, all of these kinds of people, right? When we spoke about Tony Robbins and manipulation and stuff like that, we understand that the core people that follow these kinds of speakers and these books and these ideas never actually take action and do what it takes to become successful. And not just successful financially, just successful by living a good, healthy, positive life, right? They're constantly in the cycle of dismay, and they lean on their pastors, their preachers, their most motivational, inspirational speakers, people like Steve Harvey, to give them direction and give their life meaning, right? When the truth of what is in those books and the ideas and the philosophies all comes back to the power of yourself and actually taking action and responsibility for yourself, right? The price of freedom is vigilance and responsibility, okay? So if you want to be free, you must be responsible for what you do and be vigilant in what you learn and what you take action in, right? That is the core messaging that I would give you. But overall, yes. Now, I've read self-help books, I've listened to audio books, I watched what's the right word for it? Productivity kind of YouTube's podcasts and creators and all kinds of things, right? And I've learned lots of things over the years of how to do things, how to think, how to do things in the financial world, how to do things in the creative world, how to read and remember stuff better, how to speak, communicate better, like all of these things. If you as an individual have gone on a journey of self-discovery and self-development, ironically, because there's self-help and self-development, you would run into these ideas eventually, right? And you take what you can and accumulate all of these ideas and build yourself to be the better version of you, right? And everyone is still a work in progress, especially me, right? Because as you probably noticed in these videos, sometimes I kind of code switch, right? And I revert back to my street level dumbness sometimes, right? And other times I show you a glimpse of my intellectualness or intellectuality. Like, see what I mean, right? I'm not all there, right? I'm a half-baked cookie. Yes, but you get what I'm saying. I try, right? I learn, I read when I can, I study. I'm always watching and paying attention. So I would say I'm someone that has more of real world smarts than book smarts or communication smarts or any of these things, right? But that's partly the reason why I started making these videos in the first place, right? It was to get better at communicating my thoughts and speaking clearly, right? Because otherwise I'd be mumbling a lot and looking down, not really focusing, not paying attention to people I interact with, and just not having a place to express myself as an individual, right? That's part of the reason why I've done this, do these videos. Another part of the reason is because when my mum died, like, I thought, all right, I can either spiral down into a negative place, or I can take this energy and this hunger and this pain, all of this sadness, and channel it into something positive, right? So the first ever video of me speaking with my face in the camera was the weekend of my mother's funeral, right? And from that branches on into this, right? So I decided, hell, who am I going to speak to? Nobody, right? So I'm going to speak to you on the camera in the internet. Many of you may have similar experiences, but the fact that I was able to, like, alchemize my pain and my hurt into doing something positive is the same ideas that would be that these kinds of books would consist of too, right? Some people channel their anger, some people channel their sexual energy, all kinds of things into something positive instead, right? And you get the outcomes you get from them. Now, mindset shifting and mindset training is important, it's powerful, right? That's why on my main channel at CNC there's a playlist of daily affirmations, right? Things you say and repeat and chant when you wake up in the morning to help you get your mind frame right and reinstill that self-confidence, that self-belief, and push and block out all the negativity of the world, right? I know it's woo-woo, but I'm not even one of those people that are too esoteric, right? Or one of those people that have like the little blue eye in their stuff, right? I'm not one of those people, right? I'm not a tarot card kind of divination person. I'm just somebody that studies different cultures, different ideas, and takes the most practical things I can from these theories, right? And implements them. I don't like to sit around learning things that can't be used, right? And that I can't really think through and think about. So that's why I'm kind of like that, right? I have bits and pieces of gems from different places, right? I'm a jack of all trades, master of none, but a man of many things, a man of many skills is better than a man of one, right? That's why I'm like that, okay? But of course, I'm a master in a few things that we don't talk about on this podcast. But anyway, yes, mindset training and self-development is very important as an individual, and it will help you in your relationships with other people. It helps you to empathize and understand other people as well, why they do the things they do, right? Because a big branch of that pseudoscience of self-help is the pseudoscience of psychology, right? No disrespect to my psychologists out there or whatever, you Sigmund Freud fans and stuff like that, right? You Jungians, right? No disrespect. I understand a lot of work, a lot of theorizing went into what it is you do, right? Straight up and down. If you guys didn't do what you do, most of us wouldn't be able to do what we do and have a very workable philosophy that runs society, right? If them thinkers didn't come into play. So they're not underappreciated. They are well worth their weight. Although some of them come into their business with preconceived notions, bad theories, bad practices, and that translates into people's lives, and they destroy people's lives and all kinds of nonsense, right? Because people are people, right? And that's a part of that self-development thing. Once you understand yourself, right, and you understand how you work, you can see it in other people, what might be wrong, what might be right, right? We as humans are forever walking around in the world reflecting of other people and ourselves, right? It's like the reason the power of the mind is so overlooked and at the same time is so vastly untapped potential, is so vast, untapped potential, is because the way we experience the world, right, me and you, we experience the world through the receptors of our eyes, right? Our senses. And what are our senses and our eyes attached to? Our brain. And what is our brain that we refer to? Our mind, right? So some people call that subconscious part of your mind, and the conscious part of your mind, your spiritual and your conscious, right? Anyway, not to get too woo-woo, like I say. But yes, the power of the mind is everything, right? Because we experience reality through our brain, right? There's a whole branch of philosophy and a study and like a moral dilemma of basically saying what would happen if we just had a brain in a jar, right? No body, nothing attached to it. Would it still be able to experience life as we know it, right? By projecting its reality within that jar, within that brain. Because of course we don't have a screen to see what is going on in someone's mind. But we've also discussed that on a how to time travel episode. We discussed ways that in the future we may be able to read minds and transfer it into other technologies, right? But that's neither here nor there. It's not what this podcast is about. So yes, the power of your mind is impeccable, right? You have to understand that and appreciate that. The way you think affects the way you respond and react to things that happen to you in life, right? The more information you learn, the more knowledge you accrue in life, is the better you can understand the world, right? And it's the same thing with speech. The more vocabulary you have, is the better you can communicate and understand life, right? Because you have the means to express yourself and to describe what you see, okay? That's the reason we have created language past the point of grunts and non-verbal communication, so we can describe the world and expand the world, okay? So the world that you know it as you see it, everything you look at, everything you use, the camera you're watching, the phone you're watching, the camera I'm using, the car you're driving, the clothes you're making, the clothes you're wearing, the food utensils you use, every last thing, yeah, that didn't come out of the ground as it is, was once somebody's thoughts, right? It was once a product of somebody's mind, and they bring it into the world, right? So everything is like a collective. We exist in a collective consciousness of all our individual ideas and efforts manifested into the physical realm that is reality as we know it, right? So everything is someone's mind, right? So understand that. If you take the power of your own mind lightly, then you will likely never achieve much in your life. You wouldn't be taken very serious by most people, because you don't take yourself serious, okay? So I know it's a bit woo-woo, but the power, I keep saying the power of the mind like it's something external to you, right? Just the thinking, right? Being able to think clearly, concisely, and in depth and about abstract things, just like, for instance, mathematics and numbers do not exist in nature, right? They are not external. They exist solely in our minds and are agreed upon, right? That is essentially the power of thought. And then through this agreed term of maths, we can build things, measure things, and create things in reality. But the universe doesn't go off maths. Now, with maths itself, there's an argument to say, I don't know if it's the right way to say it, but maths is kind of a priori, right? That means you can think through it and understand and come to a term that it exists, and it would exist without empirical evidence, right? But there's also a thing that says, did we discover maths or did we invent maths, right? And this is another thing that comes down to thoughts, right? How you think. And I know I didn't explain that very good or communicate that very good, which I am working on. I'm trying to get better at communicating these ideas. But like I said, I'm on that same journey of self-development, right? And trying to understand the way I think and what I know and translate it better in my speech, right? More clearly and concisely, that you can understand it, right? And not just think, what the is this guy talking about, right? He's just blabbering, jumping from subject to subject, right? But it's the way I think, and I'm trying to get better at thinking. So of course I've delved into the same kind of things as Steve Harvey. Now, me personally, I've never cared about being rich, right? I'm not one of those people that have a thing where it's like, maybe this is probably why I'm considered not particularly successful. I've never had a goal that exists around the financial or fame achievement, right? That's never been something that I cared about. Maybe if I did put my mind towards that, I would achieve it more, right? But I don't care. I can look back in life and say, the things that I put my mind to, on a small scale and on a large scale, I've achieved, right? So I understand that it works. But for the people that go into these things purely off the point of view of becoming prosperous and successful and rich, that's your business, right? And then there's people out there that will apparently teach you how to achieve that, right? And you could agree or disagree if their methods are correct, right? Because, hey, you go to business school, you go to university and study business, and then you have to ask yourself, is the tutor that's teaching me about business a successful business man or woman, right? Do they understand business enough to run one themselves, right? Are they actually entrepreneurs? Or is this all just theory without practice, right? Because like we said before, as an individual, I can start a company today, right? With an idea, and I can set up the foundational business aspects of it, write my documents, my procedures as a business should run, and then I can go and hire somebody, right? I can hire someone based off their experience, or I can hire someone based off their qualifications, or I could just hire somebody because I like them, right? But that's the reality of it. So don't get caught up too much in thinking you have to do things by the book, or even what a self-development book tells you, right? Because the real world is very nuanced and things work different for different people. But yes, if you are challenging yourself to be a better person, at some point in your life you're going to come across self-development books and self-help stuff that you can take techniques and information away from and apply to your everyday life, your business, your relationships, your physical health, your mind states, right? How you think and work through life, right? You're creating better workflows, better productivity. All of those things do work, right? Books are a very good resource, but there's also human beings which are the best resource, right? If you could learn everything, if a man understands a book or an idea, a concept to its highest level, he can then break it down into small bite-sized, concise chunks that will make a layman understand it well enough to then go ahead and progress in study of that topic if they choose to, right? So just understand it like that. I know I'm babbling, I've got off the point, right? But yes, Steve Harvey is one of those people that that's like a proponent of the gospel of prosperity, right? Just like Tony Robbins and all these other kinds of people. But remember, they are a small percentage of the whole humanity, right? So remember that. their success stories are all anecdotal, right? So just think about that. But take the techniques, take the information and tools away, and apply it to the smallest things in your life to test it out, and then scale it up. The more you learn, the better you can do with these things, right? So that's my 2 cents on that. Yeah. So you let me know what you think. Did I overanalyze? Was I too shallow? Did I not speak concisely enough? Is there anything you think I should have added? And if you know more about these kinds of things, like your Joe Dispensers and all these kind of people, right? Your Robert Greens, and all of these writers that create this kind of self-help, learn how to manipulate reality and people kind of stuff. You let me know what you think, right? Tell me or recommend something that I should check out, right? Yeah, because we have to sift through the knowledge to get to the best of it, right? We have to look through the authors and the countless people just regurgitating the same information in a different way, get the best out of it, right? Because these ideas are not new. Like I said, you got your Neville Goddards, your Napoleon Hills and people like that. They were doing it from the early 19th century, right? So these guys that are writing these books are just rehashing old information. Your Neville Goddards and all of that, they got their information from the European druids and shit like that, and mystics and esoteric cults and secret societies. Like, all of them people understand the same information, but they just apply it in different ways, right? Ancient Egypt, same thing, right? Ancient China, same thing, right? Do you understand? Ancient Polynesian, Indians, it's all the same thing, right? Your Native Americans, all of it, it's the same information. The source that comes from Earth, everything between heaven and earth, the sun, the moon, the stars, it's all the same kind of information that translates into how we interact with reality, right? The more you know is the better you can react to or respond to your reality and manifest and manipulate it to your will, right? It's the same information reiterated in different forms. So let me know what you think. Again, in the comments, reach out in a DM, slide in my DM and send me a book or a link or something that you think would help me in my own personal development journey, or how I can become more concise and articulate better and get my thoughts clearer. If you got something, let me know, right? If you got some gym quick tips, right? I told you, I very much spend time in that world, okay? So yes, tell me what you think. Give me some feedback. Am I just chatting nonsense? But anyway, check out the main channel at CNCCMI, and like I always say, please like, subscribe and share. It helps my channel permeate through the internet and your algorithm on your browser and your discovery page, and other channels like me, yeah? Real people doing real things, keeping freedom of speech free. And don't forget to check out the other playlists, right? Check out the other videos. This ain't the best podcast, right? There's other better podcasts, from my own opinion, right? And I'm the person living in the current moment. Maybe later I'll be like, actually that was a really good episode, but I know there's better episodes already, right? Funnier, more entertaining episodes, more educational episodes in the Drivers Mate podcast playlist, right? So check it out. Anyway, Drivers Mate podcast, and we're out.